Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
All right, welcome to the Launch Code podcast. Today I've got Jonathan Hart, Baker Leavitt, and Tiers Simac. Jonathan, thank you very much for being on the show. I appreciate you coming back out. Like last year, we didn't scare you off or what?
Not at all.
Great.
We were just starting.
Yeah, exactly.
There's never enough time.
So we got a year under our belt since the last time we were here.
Yeah.
First and foremost, tell us what you've been doing for the past year.
Rebuilding. Actually, it's been a super fun year from a business perspective. The really doing. I mean, this is like the geeky part of building businesses,
right.
But this is where we're at that point where everything's focused on scale. How do you restructure a business? How do you put the right processes in place? How do you put the right people in place? How do you go through different inflection points on this roller coaster, and we're at a huge one. And so this year was a lot of heavy lifting.
So when you say scale, where are you trying? Because you've had to scale it a couple times. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah. So, So where are we going?
Well, yeah. Because I mean, when I think of scale, I'm thinking, well, you guys have had to scale the company in phases, but it's kind of been a continuous evolution of scale, I would imagine. So, what's the next big scale for?
Well, yeah, I think as you go through these different stages of development, you hit points where you're unsustainable as an organization.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean you don't have opportunity. It doesn't mean the business can't grow.
Right.
It means that as a business, you're continuing to put more effort into different projects, into different products that aren't going to return
right
at the rate that they should. And
right.
so you hit that point of diminishing returns.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at scale holistically, it's people, it's organizational structure, it's process.
Right.
It's also for us taking the next sort of deeper dive in terms of what we call brand ethos.
Right.
And how does that evolve? Because if you don't evolve, you're dying.
Right.
And where do you go with it? Because those adjacencies with that evolution of ethos begin to expand your footprint. And so then you make, the next sort of set of decisions on who do you want to become and how do you get there? And I think that's pretty exciting when you geek out on the business side of it.
Who do you want to become, and how do you get there?
So we don't want to become anybody else.
Right.
What we want to do is create positive impact. We want to take this platform and begin to influence people in a much broader spectrum than we ever have, and also elevate. Dude, you're fired.
Yeah.
And also elevate, some of the core tenets of our brand that have always been there at the center of it, but we've never taken a deep dive there. And we went through some pretty amazing exercises working with our consumers to
mm-hmm.
find out what makes them tick.
Right.
And not necessarily so much, the obvious ones, the obvious place you'd go is, well, yeah, these people they buy a bunch of our stuff, and so we're going to sell them more stuff.
Right.
Without asking the question of, well, why are they buying it?
Right.
And why are they our cheerleaders? Why do they continue to buy? And so we spent a lot of time taking a really deep dive in what, it sounds sort of geeky, but belief systems, and finding out what are the shared belief systems that our core consumers have that we celebrate, and what does that mean? How does that begin to elevate parts of our brand that may have not been, the key story always? And so some pretty exciting and interesting findings that came out of all of that.
Well, can you talk about those, or
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Yeah, absolutely.
I just thought you were being vague for
yeah.
no reason.
Well, yeah. I mean, I hope all of our competitors are listening, but at this point,
don't
it's
give
like
us that much credit. This the 4 people in this room are going to listen to this afterwards for like 20 minutes.
yes. What about the drinking brothers?
But, well, there's about 50,000 people that listen to it, and they're pretty interested. But yeah, so talk a little bit about this, because I'm fascinated with this as far as understanding your customer a little bit more.
Yeah.
Going back into the redefining maybe the tenants you just spoke to.
Yeah.
Because you've obviously got a new set of targets that you're trying to reach, and maybe those are coming with gross revenue. Maybe those are coming with types of revenue.
No, none of it's revenue driven.
None of it. Okay.
No.
Interesting.
All of it is about, like I said earlier, all of it's about impact and doing and continuing down this sort of path of, I guess, positively affecting this world we live in, which I think a lot of people, historically will look at Sitka and they're like, oh yeah, you guys just like, you started from this place of picking, and celebrating the most extreme, what we defined as athletes in the hunting space.
Right.
And which isn't always, the quick default is, it's the sheep hunter. Well, not always.
Right.
There's some people doing absolutely crazy shit, pushing the extremes in terms of spending time in the outdoors. But, I think at the core of who we've always been, it's been about the planet and recognizing that as hunters, we celebrated the harvest for what it truly meant to us as individuals and to our families and putting meat on the table more than we did the trophy.
Right.
And sometimes the trophy, the big grip and grin is part of that story and that continuum, but it's not always the point. Yes, you do have those scenarios where it's a chess match with the oldest bull in the woods, or, a 12-year-old ram that's been up there forever, and they're wise and they've evaded everybody and everything for that many years. And that's certainly a fun sort of intellectual exercise in how to do it. But, at the core of being a hunter for us from inception has always been about putting meat on the table. And as you begin to really peel back the onion on, so why is that important to you? Why do you care about the food that you put in your body? Why do you care about putting food on the table for your family that comes from a place that what does that mean? And what's really fascinating, because, I mean, frankly, a lot of guys really don't take the time to look in the mirror and go, yeah, why do I give a shit about this?
Right.
And granted, it's sort of one facet of this existence we live, but it's a pretty important one to us. And so when we look at the hunter, we look at the hunter as a harvester, and we begin to ask deeper questions around, well, if you've self-identified as that person, why? How come hunting is a big part of your persona and who you are? A lot of us were brought into it, from family. I mean, that's like the easy one.
Right.
But what you're seeing now, which is super interesting, that aligns with our path, is these macro trends around people giving a shit about where their food comes from.
Right.
And it just begs the question of why do you care? And anyways, as you kind of dig deeper and deeper, and was I reluctant to go here? Yeah, sure, because most people sort of glass over. They're like, really? Like, this isn't hunting? Well, it is for a lot of people, but usually just don't go there. And so what we're really coming to find is like this whole exercise of identifying what makes our core customer a hunter, surprisingly, is this belief in connecting to yourself in the outdoors. Like, that's the exercise. I think as you sort of take that through the lives, or reflect on the lives that we live, especially at least for myself specifically, I have this broad spectrum of activities that I participate in. We talked about whitewater quite a bit, big part of my life for a period. So is climbing. So is hiking. So is, before kids, ice climbing. Like, I mean, all these things, but the red thread amongst all of them was time in the outdoors. And
Right.
so you go back, just not so long ago from an evolutionary perspective, and hunter-gatherers and cavemen, like, dude, we lived in the outdoors. We didn't live in, Vegas, for
Right.
example, or cities and all this stuff. And so there is this sort of weird fundamental DNA part of us that says, yeah, we connect to self through the outdoors. And so what do we do with that? Like, why is that important? And I think at the end of the day, what we come to find is we have an opportunity to influence more people in elevating the conversation around the outdoors and what it does to us as humans, how it, rehabilitates. We've done a number of pieces, we'll just say on military folks who have come back
Right.
and have refound themselves through, and we'll just say hunting because that's my business, going back down that path, which is a really hard one, but they find meaning again. People who have lost their way, which is a crazy thing to consider. And so for us as a brand, it's still about making the best shit that exists. Like,
Right.
that doesn't go away. That's totally consistent. But what we do with the messaging and how we begin to create new conversations that are more, I think that potentially carry more weight than simply showing, like, this was the craziest adventure that this guy just did.
Right.
We can begin to frame up stories that I think leave a more long-standing legacy that ultimately, I hope, allow us to bridge this gap from the endemics to the non-endemics and start to look beyond the existing hunter base that we live in right now. And the cool part is we can do that through food.
Right.
Like, we own that. And as hunters, there's no user group in the world that has more credibility to talk about food than people who hunt.
And so when you think about the next, and really kind of going back to when you're looking at the company, and then kind of, are you talking about curating more pieces of content that kind of exemplify the connection of your customer and your company?
Totally.
You're going to do that.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, it's key. That's the unlock to all of it.
Right. And how are you doing that? Not tactically, but do you guys have your own film crews and
No, we have an amazing network of content producers. We have always, we've never done it in-house.
Okay.
We've always believed that bringing in the point of view and perspective of content creators that have a broader spectrum of experience creates original and interesting content.
Right.
I think a lot of that was born out of the I'll say now, the old days of hunting TV,
Right.
which was like handy cam, shoot something as close as you can, and like jump up and down and fist pump.
Right.
And I think those, I mean, if you watch anything we've ever produced, it's never about the kill.
Right.
It is everything that goes up into it, that crazy psychological journey you kind of go through. And so, yeah, we have an incredible network of people that, are just as quick to, film something on sailing, free diving, climbing, bike racing, motocross. Doesn't matter.
Right.
It's like across the board in a whole bunch of different perspectives. But
Yeah, but you guys were like the Sitka Films.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen every single one of them. And like 5-6 years ago, like that was the only game in town.
Yeah.
Like nothing against.
Really?
They were before Yeti Films. I mean,
Yeah.
they were. I think you had a catalog of, I think it was maybe 107 shorties on YouTube or on the website or whatever. And no, you guys were big on Vimeo. Like, so most of their stuff was on Vimeo back then, and it was it called Sitka Films?
Yeah,
that
Sitka
was
Films.
yeah.
And,
Yeah,
Vimeo,
and, like,
Vimeo was the platform because you could
it was easier to work with for producers.
you could stream higher res,
Yeah.
HD easier, and
Every single one of them, and then Searching for West, which was like the mothership of all, and that was 22 minutes. Not an animal in the entire film.
Yeah. So if you go back, content's really important. And when, with a strong ski snow background, the art of flight was a game changer in the world of building content. And
Still is.
It's still is. And in fact, his newest project is pretty freaking amazing too. But that was the quest was, how do we create that for this space?
Right.
And I think, ultimately that project redefined what content is for the space. But yeah, absolutely. Everybody and all, I mean, this sounds super egotistical, but I think it's a fair call out that we redefine content for the outdoor space. And yeah, Yeti was a quick study. They had more money, and so
That always helps.
Yeah. Money.
But that's not egotistical. That's, I mean, coming from a Sitka consumer, I'm wearing a Sitka shirt right now. I've been wearing. What did you say?
Nothing. I just sneezed.
No, but that's not egotistical. That's true. So like, you guys broke barriers in the space, and I think took people down the path that hunting TV is one thing,
right?
But you can produce content that's not a walking, talking commercial that actually tells a story uninterrupted. Yeah. And like, I remember, I've seen every single one of them. Every one of them. And that's all you had to watch back then was that. It would be that or go on a hunting TV show and sit there for 30 minutes.
Which was horrible. Like, they were
pits.
just, I mean, a lot of them were horrible, man. Like, just, I can't even.
But but you guys also launched the lifestyle this year.
Yeah, lifestyle is big. So
lifestyle branded clothing.
Yeah, like the shirts that I bought. I walk in the office,
I know,
Evan buys one in 3 days.
some people might not be familiar with that. I'm just pulling that out.
So, part of that exercise, one of the things that really came out of our consumer findings was, what else does the consumer want?
Right.
And where we landed on in the near term was Worktrain and travel. Like, these are categories of people's lives who, they want Sitka to serve them holistically.
Right.
365. Mm-hmm. And so, all right, you pick a point and place and you go and you try to do the best job you can. And so it's an evolution. It's a long-term commitment. It's not a, hey, we can make X, Y, and Z and people will buy it. The goal is to continue that relationship with our consumers into a year-round relationship.
I got a question. So, hunting gear, how long had y'all been working on the lifestyle stuff? And what was the determining factor on when you launched it? Like, how'd you get there?
you just go. I mean, you just start. I mean, I would say, we've always thought about it. And frankly, we'd make a lot of prototypes that were, as inspired from backcountry skiing and climbing and, riding mountain bikes that have existed in our closets for 13 years now. So we've always made product. I think we really committed to actually putting collections together 3 years ago. And our development cycle is 24 months, plus or minus. Some projects take longer, some are shorter, but that's about what it takes on average. And if a product's not ready, we don't launch it. So we just said, all right, it's time. Our consumer keeps asking, and so we'll commit. That being said, we committed with a really narrow focus, no expectations, and really, I think roughly we looked at being in the market would take us about 3 seasons of just doing it, and then slowly bringing it to life.
Mm-hmm. And how active are you in that now? Are you Are you really active on the development side of the, let's say,
No,
lifestyle
God, we
piece?
have our developers are so much better than I ever was at it.
Okay.
So they
Right.
make me look stupid. So I try to avoid them. In fact, I try to avoid everybody who makes me look stupid.
Good rule of thumb.
That's what management is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be back later.
Yeah. I'm going to let you guys keep doing what you do. Not a micromanager.
No.
I'm going to go take a nap.
Then you quickly fall into seagull management.
Right.
Just try to avoid that. So, yeah, we have an incredible team of, product managers, designers, developers, sourcing globally. I mean, the whole deal.
How big is your company right now?
Can't tell you.
You can't say how many
Classified.
people work for it?
Oh, how
or-
many people?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, let's see. Full time. Yeah, it's classified. Full times with contractors. I mean, the whole how many people touch the business,
Well, sure. Yeah.
or the number of people.
kind of an open-ended
let's
question.
I'll just
You
let's,
guide me.
Let's say roughly 36 full time equivalents.
Yeah.
I think rally around the business.
Wow. Right. And where are most of those people located?
Bozeman.
All of them?
No, not all
Big-
of them. I mean, I live in Tahoe.
Right.
But yeah, most of them are there.
Okay. And for the audience, what's your position in the company?
So we finally came up with a title because we really don't do titles.
Right.
So I'd be the brand champion.
Got it. Okay.
Today, I introduced myself in another meeting as the key mess maker.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was probably
That's a pretty good one.
thought it was
Yeah.
more accurate.
Right. And how long were you working in the company before you transitioned to key mess maker?
I think you kind of own that one from day
Right.
one.
Got it.
I mean, from the very beginning, pretty good at it. He was like, "Yeah, fuck it, we should do this."
Right.
Oh boy, that was a disaster. Somebody needs to fix this.
And what's-
Yeah, I think that's just. But I think that as a founder, you're always that person.
Right. Anyway, so what's your relationship with the CEO look like?
Really, really tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's in
Really-
Bozeman.
Yeah, he's in Bozeman.
Right. And do you guys communicate on a regular? Every day?
Nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're, just from this is not a strange question, but just a question. But when you see the brand and you see where it's going, have there been times when you said, "I don't really like that. I don't like the way that looks."
Oh God. Oh, all the time.
Okay. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm also, one part of our culture, and I don't know if it just comes from, inception.
Right.
We are our worst critics.
Right.
We never celebrate anything. We're really, really bad at it. And
Right.
we even talk about how to get better at it. But I think that's just part of.
I'd agree with that. I'd say you guys are horrible about talking about yourself. That's I've never thought about that, but just hearing you say it, it's like that's actually true. Like Sitka doesn't toot their own horn.
And we talk. I mean, there's, two of the big ones that people have brought up numerous times is our commitment to conservation and our commitment to the environment, which I kind of define a little bit differently. But you take, for example, right now from a compliance perspective, we run in the high 90s with all of our products being OCTEX compliant, which means we have as almost as minimal of a footprint on the on the environment with how we produce product, yet we don't talk about it. Nobody in our space does. Nobody even thinks about it. Yet
Right.
we have fully committed to doing everything we can. Because making clothes is like one of the worst industries you can be in for the environment. It's horrible. So there are organizations that have put together amazing guidelines that allow you to produce, that give you an opportunity to minimize your impact, and that's a big deal. But should we talk about it? Yeah, we should. The most important reason is so that other people will follow.
So has that been a conscious decision
to do
stay
that.
quiet, or
No,
just
it's-
you forget about it?
Yeah, we
because you're
totally forget
concentrating on
about it.
other things?
That's, I mean, how else would you do business? I mean, that's kind of the argument is, of course you would do that. The other part too, from a conservation standpoint, I mean, we've given every penny that we can from day one. And it's always, these really, incredible relationships with some of our key partners to date all started with, look, I got 50 grand. That's all I can give you. So you're a pro at conservation. You do what's right with it. I don't need an ad. I don't need a commercial. I don't need to, sponsor a banquet or anything like that. Just make, tie up more dirt or do whatever's the best. You're a pro at this. We're kind of a pro at this. But if we grow together, wink, wink, like help grow our business, this 50 will become 100, become 200, become 500. Like we'll continue to give as much as we absolutely can. And so we've held really tight to that commitment. We were founding members and creators of 2% for conservation. So 1% of our top line already goes to all of those endeavors. That's just part of our DNA as a team.
So the ideology is very
It's a
rooted.
big, right. And so going back, so what was interesting, I was talking about doing all these consumer findings earlier. What was interesting to find out is that our core consumers were all in the same place.
Right.
They're all totally aligned, and we never, these stuff we didn't even talk about. But you take these deep dives with them, and you're like, wow, you live a very conscientious life. Like every decision you make is thoughtful. You're an overachiever. You give a shit about the planet. You make decisions that are understanding what those impacts are going to be. We couldn't have scripted that, yet somehow it all came through, and that's who we connected with.
So this is off topic of Sitka, but the reason I'm asking this particular line of questioning is because I'm actively trying to recruit guys with the same ideology into the Special Forces Regiment, and I'm finding it incredibly difficult because we don't really talk about ourselves that much.
Right.
And so I'm seeing a lot of parallels there. That's why I'm trying to pick your brain about this.
Yeah.
Like, how did you go about making that paradigm shift to actually start talking about yourself while still hanging on to the altruism and the ideology?
We haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah,
I
me
think
neither.
is the answer. I think you naturally, I don't know what it is. I think you end up naturally gravitating towards things. I think people do more research than you give them credit for.
Yeah.
And you put out enough breadcrumbs, like they'll pick them up.
Well, I think one of the things I wanted to see if you'd weigh in on is the public and private land debate.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you weigh in on that?
Well,
Yeah.
sure.
What's your, because I mean, obviously you spend a lot of time in the outdoors doing a wide variety of things. I have a feeling I know where you land on it, but I'm just wanting to hear what your perspective is.
I think we could spend, we talked a lot about it earlier today. We could spend a lot of time working on access.
Right.
But this is where and I've gotten some flack from close friends on this one. To me, access doesn't mean paving a road through 1 million acres of, public land that is public.
Right.
I'm not going to feel bad when I can no longer get back there. And I can't walk or I'm
Right.
incapable of it.
Mhm.
So, I'm going to maximize every opportunity I can now to do so because it's super important. So to me, access is not pave it and be able to drive an RV through it.
Right.
But having access to it, I think is really, really important. And I think, but that being said, so access is only part of the equation. Making public lands available to do anything with is a different conversation.
Right.
And one of the conversations that we're trying to elevate is this concept of ecosystem thinking,
Mhm.
which is that everybody needs to start just being a little bit more holistic in the lens that they see the world through, and realizing that everything we do has an impact. And it doesn't mean, being a martyr is not an awesome life.
Right.
But making small incremental change that's positive, can become pretty impactful in the, if everybody begins to make small changes. And I don't know, I just reading a recent study on just CO2. Mm-hmm. Like in 30 years, we're all fucked right now, unless we start to make incremental change. And so I think public, access to public land is sort of the same way. I also think that you have to be, you need to be conscientious around making a point to go actually access it. Like, go out there and spend time. I mean, it's rehabilitating. I had an incredible trip this fall up into the northern BC and the Cassiers. 2 million acre concession, or plus or minus, however many thousands.
Right.
But you're in the middle of freaking nowhere. And like, those are missions. Like, everybody should go out there and wake up with wolf tracks around your camp every night, and know that grizzly bears are stalking you, and feel that sort of like, yeah, this is crazy. This is what it should be like. And I think that gives you a really grounding perspective on why public lands and access is really important.
I would agree. I think that one of the things that I've noticed in this, it's a strange debate, because it's this debate that seems to be driven with inaccurate narratives. Obviously, that's kind of the news cycle just in general, as far as I'm right, you're wrong,
right?
And
yeah,
both parties kind of pointing fingers. There's a few organizations out there that I think have a very binding narrative as to why it's important, but I think you did a good job of boiling it down and then deciding why it's important.
I mean, that being said, I'm all for private lands too. I think, being able to, live the American dream, save money, buy a piece of property, you own it. That's awesome. I think that, there's an interesting tipping point, or a place where if you can find the right model where you may own property, and giving people an opportunity to access it in some way, shape, or form I think that's a pretty amazing gift you can give to others. But my expectation, and this is a hard one too, is I want people to respect that.
Right.
And that's really hard. We as humans don't always have the best track record of doing that, unfortunately.
Right.
And so
it's an interesting public land access. It's interesting. People in the South, I grew up in Georgia hunting. I live in Texas now. There's virtually zero public land in the state of Texas. Like
California, same thing.
But
It's hard.
I think people from the South that have never had access to, or been to the Pacific Northwest, or experienced public lands. So when I think of public lands, I'm thinking of, like my hunt in the Bitterroot in Idaho this past fall. And I've been hunting all over the world, and I will never forget that trip. Packed in on a horse, overcame an irrational fear of horses. And one night, dude, terrified. Hadn't been on a horse 31 years. Scared shitless. Irrational, but
Really?
still, it was.
That wasn't a Tijuana trip or something?
Well, that's a donkey. That's a different animal. But I got thrown when I was 12, left a mark on me, and 30 minutes in, my buddy looks back and goes, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I said, "I've been missing out on life, riding on horses." So we get up, and we spiked out spike camped one night on top of this knob. Used the saddle as a pillow. And you were talking about experiencing things that, and I woke up it's about 2:45 in the morning, and the Milky Way and the stars were so bright. I thought it was dawn. And I thought, there's no fucking way I can get up right now. I'm shot. Like I'm beat. But I just remember I was like, oh my God, that's not the sunrise, man. Like that is the Milky Way and the stars. And like there's people that I think everyone should experience that. Do I think everyone's going to be attracted to it or going to be attracted to hiking in and busting their ass? No, not necessarily. However, I agree with you. I think that everyone should at some point.
Oh, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Like, any of you guys been to the Galapagos?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a life changer.
Well, I mean, that's where one of the greatest books ever written was. I mean, it's phenomenal.
It's unreal.
Survival of Species.
Oh, I thought we were talking about
Galapagos. It's 800, 900 miles off the coast of Ecuador.
Right.
It's phenomenal.
I was reading it.
Right, you were picking up what I was putting down. I was
yeah.
going to say something else, but didn't.
Yeah.
That's
right.
funny. But no, I agree with you on that. I think it's something that, like hiking this summer in Washington, like you get to the top of like Railroad Grade or something, and I'm not a mountain goat like you, so I struggle my ass up these mountains, and you just look around and it's like, how insignificant I am. If I evaporated right now, none of this thing would matter. Like it would, nothing here would care. It's just I wish that more people had access to that and understood it, or just put the time into going out and learning about it.
That's that paradox, though. You educate more people, you expose more to it, then there's less of it.
Welcome to the coral reefs of Key West, brother. Like, I mean,
Yep.
So how do you balance that for yourself and your company? Where obviously, and you did talk about it a little bit, where you're running a close to zero footprint company or a low footprint company. I shouldn't say close to zero, but
we try. Yeah,
right.
That's the commitment.
Right. And so your commitment, but also running a company and then scaling a company, that's obviously it takes a toll on the environment, and also you have a direct relationship with the consumer, and those goods have to be shipped. Do you ever wrestle with those things individually and say, okay, as a conservationist?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, daily.
Right.
You would be lying to yourself if you didn't. And I think you have to just embrace the mantra of, do the best you can.
Right.
And hopefully the model that you're creating is one that can be replicated by others. And
Right.
so, I don't know if you saw, we went to market with the first serviceable wader for the waterfowl industry this last season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the best. I mean, I don't give a shit what anybody says. It's a freaking kick-ass product.
Right.
But what's really unique about it is it's a product that can be serviced in an industry where waders have become disposables.
Yep.
And in our launch / introduction of that product to the industry, the invite to all of our competitors and challenges, you should do this too. Period.
Right.
Like, everybody should be thinking this way.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, by leading by example, others will follow. And in general, doing the right thing is usually good business. And so, I think that was it was the first time we actually called it out, and the response was overwhelmingly positive, and which was great in terms of learnings, and something that I think that we just need to begin to just push harder so that consumers expect more. That, is like, if you talk to my kids who are totally brainwashed, they're like, well, no, you'd never buy crap. Crap wears out. Crap goes into a landfill. Crap is bad for the environment and the planet, which ends up becoming super expensive for me. And I'm like, what the fuck? Well, you're just going to grow out of that. Well, yeah, but we're not allowed to buy crap.
Right.
Fuck.
That is a good point.
Maybe spoke too fast
That
there.
is a good point.
how long had your consumer base, including myself, been demanding waders?
Day one.
Yeah.
Number one requested product
Every year.
for
I asked those guys via email 2 years ago, why aren't you building waders?
Every year,
It's
like the new product launched. Everyone was like, oh, "This is the year, boys.
Yeah.
They're going to drop the waders. That's the surprise."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we roll up and it's like a new camo pattern. We're like, "Son of a
The thing
bitch,
that-
man!"
and we sold out in preseason.
Yeah.
I mean, they were gone.
And if I wouldn't have just bought some Patagonia waders, I would have bought some, but I had to get them out. So if you would have released them just a little bit earlier, you would have an extra. You would have an extra customer,
Yeah.
in your database.
Darn it.
Yeah, just darn it.
Well,
That you missed
maybe.
out.
Do you make them in children's sizes?
So
not yet.
That's a super funny joke. Do you?
What do you have, like
I'm
a
not
really
laughing,
short
I'm
inseam or
smiling.
something?
Yeah. So it's really
inseam.
interesting, and I think I really like this conversation in the hunting industry right now. I love it because I think for a long time, hunters, and still to this day, they're seen as they're not conservationists. You can't be an environmentalist and be a hunter. And that's this narrative, I think, that's out there, and it's this negative stigma where they've taken one aspect of the hunting industry and they blow it up out of
Right.
its proportion. And I have never met a guy that is serious about bow hunting that isn't somewhat of a conservationist too. I've never met a guy.
No.
I didn't grow up with those guys. And I grew up in a place where, guys hunted. They hunted on a regular basis. And guys that were serious about hunting spent a ton of fucking time in the backcountry. And like, you don't fuck with the backcountry. Like,
No.
you can.
No,
You don't fuck with the
you
backcountry, man. Like,
No.
they'll beat your ass if you leave a wrapper laying out there. Like, I'm gonna punch you in the fucking mouth if you leave a gum wrapper in the backcountry. They're not out destroying things, and that was not.
No, the degree of
character.
reverence for Mother Nature and the outdoors is reinforced and ingrained in every person that spends enough time out there. And if you're as a committed outdoorsman, and especially an archery hunter,
Right.
dude, you learn a lot when you put that much time out there, and so you live a very different life.
When you don't have a lot of waste, that's the other thing that I think a lot of guys like. You're not. It's not like you're carrying a ton of shit. You're not rolling coolers out there and packing 2 liters of cola. Like that's
Or like
not.
lugging in like canned vegetables and like
Right.
SpaghettiOs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bring a flask instead of a 12-pack.
Right.
I mean, it's the
You said
basics.
that with a very serious face.
Yeah.
Like really serious facial expression on that one right there.
Bring the flask.
Yeah, because you don't ever want to see it go away. And like,
No.
No.
I have conversations with people all the time about hunting, and it's like, hey man, I bet you'd like to light those deer up right there on the side of the road. It's like, no, not at all, man. Like, I don't want them to go away, because like if you value something and you want to preserve it, you monetize it.
Right.
Because there's no person on this planet that cares more about sheep than sheep hunters.
No.
No
Nope.
one. Same with whatever species
Yeah.
you're after, elk, exotic game or whatever. Like, if it doesn't exist, you got nothing to do.
Right.
And I want to, and I think it's also interesting. Is like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, game populations now in today's day and age are greater than they've ever been in this country.
Yeah, they're really strong.
Especially with waterfowl.
So they're really strong, and it's where the concept of management's more important than it ever has been.
And then I think it's another thing that people don't understand is like I think it's the Pittman-Robertson Act, where a percent of every sale of every pistol, every box of ammo.
Self-taxation.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Right.
Do hikers do that?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Climbers? No. Skiers? No. I mean, nobody does that.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Even like, no, you don't hunt with pistols. I mean, maybe 1%. But like, generally speaking, like, you buy a Glock 19, a percent of that sale goes to conservation. No one's hunting with a Glock 19.
Right.
At least not ungulates, but
I mean, that would be an interesting scenario to hunt an elk with a Glock 19. I don't think that would be good for anybody.
no, no one's coming out on top
Nobody,
on that one.
nobody's-
No.
That would be the antithesis of
Right.
good hunting and ethics.
Well, so tell me this. So, like, in this the whole realm of responsibility and eco and stuff like that, do you find your consumers with BRCC just asking? Is it a topic? I just assume it has to be.
Yeah, we get this one a lot, which is organic coffee.
Right.
sustainably grown, free trade. The problem with the international coffee market is that you can put those labels on coffee and they don't mean a lot.
Yeah.
They really don't. And now there are going to be guys in the coffee industry that argue with me, but at the end of the day, if you have a direct relationship with a farmer and you know they have sustainable farming practices, you know that they treat their workforce with ethics and responsibility, because that's their livelihood too. And Colombia is a good example. Most of the farms in Colombia are not bigger than 3 acres. So when they're pulling their crops every year, they have to make sure that there's a crop next year or they can't feed their families. So,
Right.
however, but when you want to get a tag that says organic or shade grown or whatever that is, that costs money to that farmer. And typically that farmer doesn't have the resources in order to clarify that.
Yeah. So we were just going through this, looking at a new building, new office
Right.
space, and doing it LEED certified.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. You got to
Yep.
pay for it. I was like, well, screw it. Let's not pay for it. Let's just do it.
Yep.
We don't need the stamp on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's an amazing opportunity to tell those stories where you don't upcharge for it.
No.
You do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, your thing now, like we were talking about this recently, is like actually going and visiting the farms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so this year, not next year, so we're already in 19, I guess, is the year that we'll be spending more time at the farms, more time with the farmers, and really trying to focus back on where the product originates and who these people are that are basically growing the coffee that people consume every day, and why we actually are very connected. We're very connected to most of those people, especially our customer base, because they're typically more of a blue collar customer base, and it's blue collar to blue collar. Now, when you buy coffee from a massive organization, and there's a million of them that we can talk about, they're pulling from all around, we'll call it South America. They're driving the price as low as they can get it. They directly benefit from a reduction in price. Plus, it's a traded commodity, which is a whole other quagmire of logistics and issues. And right now, coffee is at its lowest price than it's been in something like 20 years. I mean, we're effectively right now, we're buying coffee from Brazil at the same price that we were buying it at in like 1897, that's non-sustainable for the farmers.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's a traded commodity and they're going to drive the price down as low as they can get it. And that's why it's really important for guys like me to go, the price is too fucking low. Like, we have to go to these farmers, build a relationship with them, and build in the performance from the bean that we want, so the taste and profile and things like that, but have an ethical responsibility to the people that ultimately will continue to keep the lights on at Black Rifle Coffee.
Could you ever sell futures? I mean, so if I know said farmer is on this place and this is his family because you've introduced me to him,
Right.
you're like, great, I'm going to buy from him directly for the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you do all the import and everything like that in process.
And we do that. So,
Yeah.
we've done that with a coffee farm in El Salvador, for instance, over the last couple of years. And then guys will contact me directly and send me samples and things like that. But you have to get boots on the ground. In that scenario, you have to build that relationship, look the farmer eye to eye, walk the plot, not just it's not an email driven activity. This is we have to see what you're all about.
And we've done that before in El Sal in Costa Rica, right? Because I know that Lotion Stark and JT did some. They were down there with Edwin doing like
Correct.
the cupping and all that stuff with the farmer and having the farmer like walk them through the entire process and all that stuff.
So Ed and I and whomever else this year, I mean, we'll be in Ethiopia, Guatemala, Colombia, Thailand, Vietnam, El Salvador, Nicaragua, like you name it. I mean, then we're doing the around the horn just because we're in this conversations for that specific reason. If I'm going to buy 5 million pounds of coffee next year, I want to do it the right way. And if I have to pay an extra 10 cents, 15, 20 cents a pound, so be it. Like, if it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. I don't feel good about an exploitative price. I just don't. Like, it's non-sustainable for the entire coffee industry, and it's a responsibility that we have to the farmer and the customer.
Because, like hunting, without those little farmers, you don't have coffee.
Yeah. It is the platform of sustainability. I mean, you can't. I mean, so yeah. We've framed it up as ecosystem thinking,
right?
But it is, your model that the other players are playing on is an unsustainable model for you. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
No, it's insane. It's a race to the bottom is what it is.
Yeah, completely. And every race to the bottom always ends in a terrible way. And I think people will happily pay more for the why.
Mm-hmm. Well, and greed is an activity in which if you continue to be gluttonous and greedy and partake in that activity, there's a difference between making a successful company that has a strong ethos with great values, that's responsible for not only its employees and the product and whomever else within that chain. And people always define, from my perspective, not always, but they define a company and the success of a company as how much their gross revenue lines are, right? And what's their EBITDA or whatever the fuck they want to call it,
sure,
right?
Whatever their metrics are.
19 for us is, and it's good to hear you say some of those things, because even for our company, the focus is we're driving back into what I'm doing is I'm focusing my energy in the company. So I brought in another CEO to ride co-pilot with me, and he's focused out, I'm focused in. And then when he's focused in, I'm focused out. But everybody's going back into the company in order to drive it further.
It's awesome.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff excites me. I don't know if you, as a founder, when you see your company,
growth is super fun.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at growth as more than anything as an opportunity to do more, that's a pretty inspiring place to sit. Mm-hmm. And you begin to, it opens doors to create, positive impact in a way that you hope becomes, legacy in effect. And it's not about, you read in books, you hear people drop it all the time. You're like, yeah, it's not about the money. You're like, you're right. It's not about the money. But when the money's there, you can do so much more with it. And you can create programs that fundamentally change people. Like, I hope that Sitka's legacy is one that really is around changing culture. Mm-hmm. And if it can positively impact culture, that's a pretty good place to leave things.
You sound somewhat like Yvon Chouinard in some aspects, right?
Super inspiring person.
Right. Yeah.
Let my people serve. It's
Dude,
great.
I've read that thing so many times.
You have it on your phone.
Dude, fuck, I have it on my phone. I mean, it was, so he had just written it when we started Sitka.
Okay.
And it was like, holy smokes. So you don't have to be an asshole.
Right.
You can run a business based on core values, and you can choose to do the right thing at every opportunity that's possible, and it will deliver. And that goes against what everybody used to believe was best business practices.
So for us mortals, who is this author?
Founder of Patagonia.
Oh, right, right. Of course, yeah.
You should read the book. The name of the book is "Let My People Serve."
Let My People Serve.
It's phenomenal.
Let my people go surfing.
Yeah, let my people go surfing.
Yeah.
I got a question. What's your hopes and dreams when it's all said and done with Black Rifle? Like long term. Like what do you, when it's done, or when whatever. Like what do you want to see, man? No one's ever asked you that. At least I haven't.
Well, I mean, I think for me, my primary focus is it's creating a high quality product, right? And when I say that, we've already kind of talked about how we create the product, but it's turning profit into opportunity for what I truly believe is an underserved, underappreciated subset of our community, which is, if I can build 1,000 stores, and those are franchise opportunities for people that have served the country to own and operate and act like their own boss, then I think I've really succeeded. And for me, that's the measure of success, which is I'm extraordinarily happy right now. I'm happier in my life today than I ever have been. And I'm 42 years old, and at the end of the month, not that I was unhappy before by any stretch of the imagination, but having your own business and creating your own schedule and your own opportunity, and what you get is what you put into it. And I've talked about it a lot, where it's this emancipation project, and people are like, why do you call it emancipation? Like they kind of like just burn me down over that one word. But you're really emancipating yourself. I truly do believe that. And a lot of people want to work for other people. That's fine. But there's a lot of people that don't want to work for other people. So if we can do that, then we've succeeded. And when I say when we do that, we'll succeed. And that's one of the big reasons why greed, as we talked about earlier, people get fixated on greed, and they get less fixated on the bigger picture and what they want to accomplish, especially in the business community. They get like, okay, well, I'm going to scrape an extra fucking 6 figures off the table, and for me, I've always given away way more than I've taken out of the company every year. This year I gave away 6 times what my salary was, easily. And when I say that, back into the communities, typically veteran, military, law enforcement, and in other bucket. So that's a huge opportunity for me.
That's huge.
So when you started, like, have there been, same for you, Jonathan, like, you have this goal that you hope to achieve with this company outside of having a great business and it being successful. But does that, like you said, legacy, does that ever evolve? So your business, you start your business evolve. We evolve as people. We get better. We get worse at things, whatnot. But like, does your goal or ultimate dream, has that changed? Has it always been that from day one, or has it evolved to where we are today? As you get older, wiser, more experienced,
Yeah, I think it evolves. I think you do get older, you do get wiser, and I think you appreciate different things as you go along that continuum. Granted, yeah, there's some people who have this, epiphany early in life, and they're like, "This is what I'm going to do." Awesome. I wasn't that person.
But I mean, like with Sitka.
But so even with Sitka, the goal in the beginning was, change industries, and in every single way.
Well, that goal has been accomplished.
Yeah. So that's done, and now you think about, so what do you do with that? And that's the part that really becomes inspiring, where you can create positive impact.
So is that freedom, or is that daunting?
No, it's not freedom. It's way more work. It's a lot more work. But it's not about, you can't chalk it up as work. You chalk it up as, this is the path you're choosing, and it needs to get done. Somebody's got to do it.
Has yours changed though? Like, evolved, made pivots?
Yeah, I think that's Jonathan touched on it earlier, which is you evolve or die. Like that's true to the individual and the company in both aspects. It's if you don't have those people within the company that continue to want to evolve, then you chop them out, because that is the entirety of the cell, is the individuals and the collective working towards a specific objective. And you're always evolving departments and divisions and everything else. If you don't, and if you're the guy that's in charge, and if it's the buck stops here, and if you're the guy that isn't doing what you want your company to do, good fucking luck. I don't know of one thing that when I started this company, and obviously you have goals, but as things and elements grow, they amplify and you see them and then you have to unpack them and turn them around a million different times, and you're balancing all emotion and I mean it sounds truly abstract, but to paint an example, which is, do we donate $200,000 to a veteran entrepreneur fund this year, or do I give the executive staff a bigger bonus, right? Or do I roll it in and invest it into the roasting, into OPEX or CAPEX or whatever it might be? Well, no, because I want to create opportunities for vets. This is what I want to do. And, hey, and if my team doesn't want to make that sacrifice with me, they don't need to be the team. If they want to squeal on it, then they probably need to go find another job. But I wouldn't know that unless I would have been given that opportunity and then had to turn it around 100 different ways. But it's not like it was a hard problem to solve.
And the reason I said that goal had been accomplished is because when they started Sitka, multiple brands followed in their path. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Just for people listening, when I was like, that goal's been accomplished, like you've sprung up 6, 7, 8 brands have followed in your footsteps or tried to.
Yep. And all of them are focused just on making product. And we're in a totally different mind space.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's been fascinating to watch, man. It really has. It's been a cool ride just to be a fan of advocate of the brand.
Yeah, it's super fun. I hope they all continue to realize that they can elevate their impact beyond just making jackets and pants and cool shit like that.
And posting pictures with tough-looking faces. Sneaking through the woods, stoic, face paint. It's like, are you poaching? Because it looks like you're sneaking through the woods right now, buddy. That's not a great look.
Are you wearing NVGs? That you should not be doing that, sir. That's not something that you should do.
No, but like you see some of those images, like talking about hunting TV earlier. Like guys just like with an elk strapped to their back, a rack on their back, and like their bows drawn in their face. They look like Latim from the program, and they have this just stoic look, and it's like, it looks like you're trespassing. Yeah, you don't look comfortable where you are right now, buddy. Are you trespassing or poaching? No.
What do you do? What are you doing outside of work? Like, what do you do
for fun?
Yeah, I mean, how do you spend your time, man? How do you spend your time?
Like a dad.
Yeah.
I try to be a great husband and dad to 2 kids. Try to lead by example. But fun stuff. I mean, I have a propensity to go fast. I seem to get injured in some way, form every year. This last year was brain trauma, shattered wrist.
Really?
Yeah, that was pretty fucking gnarly.
Mountain bike? Motorcycle?
Yeah. Mountain bike, 45 days in a dark room, waking up every morning like it was a 2-day bender in Vegas.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So like big time.
Yeah, bleeding in the brain, CT scans, all that stuff.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
But that's good for the brain, right? Your brain needs blood.
Yeah.
It's extra blood.
As a former 18 Delta, I can say that leech therapy is real. We just put them on the forehead.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mountain bikes, moto, skiing, more. For the most part, that's kind of it in the mountains now. Used to sail quite a bit, and then I fish and hunt fanatically.
Now, are your kids going out with you on?
Well, when they,
How old are they?
I think my son will be 15 next week. Daughter's 12. My son harvested his first bull elk
Nice.
in Colorado this winter on his way. We were driving out to Colorado to drop him off at training. He's a big alpine racer and peeled off in Aspen and hunted public there. And
Nice.
Freaking crushed it.
That's
He
awesome.
climbed 2,000 feet in the snow, post-holing. Like, Dad, dude, are you okay? Like, it was so fucking hard.
Right.
And, he's just a machine, and we cut it down to 100 yards, and he harvested his first bull. It
That
was freaking
is amazing.
intense.
Right, we get rifle or bow?
with a rifle.
Awesome.
It was I had one of the most. I had an incredible fall all over the place, doing all kinds of stuff, and it was, but all of it paled in comparison to that moment.
Right.
It was absolutely. I mean, it's the way you want it to happen.
Right.
Public, snow, hard, cold, freaking dealing,
Right.
and watching him with that thing on his back, crossing a creek, in waders to get out. I mean, it's just like, dude, that's the real deal.
How old was he? How old is he?
He's 14.
That's awesome. And he looked back and said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because
Pick up this on the jog, Dad. Let's
he's
go.
He's so freaking strong, and I mean, it was vertical up out of this canyon, but he was, like, we're going. It's like, oh fuck.
And you're not a slouch in the mountains, man. Like you're a mountain goat.
Not too bad, but he crushes me, and so, but yeah, no, it's been as much time as I can, getting after it. But yeah, I mean, those are kind of the main seasons. Right now we're middle of ski season,
Right.
which is.
How squaw is it?
Dude, it snowed 7 feet this week.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I don't know.
Oh
being
my
here
God.
being here is not awesome
Right. Not awesome.
at all. And it was 10 degrees this morning. I mean, it's
Oh man.
2 feet. It snowed 2 feet yesterday.
God. And
Yeah.
so in the summer, when do you guys stay up in Tahoe in
Full
the summer
time.
too?
Yeah,
Full
we pulled the trigger
Nice.
2 years ago. So we're full time in Squaw, and so I ride every day. My son really doubled down on the moto this last season, and so that's moto's good.
So you not only, it's not just you that's into speed. Like your kids are into it too.
Oh yeah. They're both fast.
It's interesting, like watching you talk about that because you're a calm guy, but like watching you talk about your kids in these stories, like your eyeballs, your face is lighting up, you got a vein popping out the middle of your forehead, man.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting to see, dude. Like it's like you're seeing a
It's
sense of
exciting.
pride in it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's cool.
dude. You want to be, you want to be an awesome. I always my joke with him, and I don't really social media stuff, but I'm always like a hashtag rad dad, because I think that's the goal.
Right.
That's cool.
Do you guys grow a garden in the summertime?
So yeah, you're kind of screwed in the mountains.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was going to ask you about. Like, do you guys have a greenhouse or?
No, we haven't committed to a greenhouse. We just moved into it. We just bought a new house in December.
Okay.
But I know where the garden's going to go.
Right.
And gardens in mountains. There's
It's tough. You
Dude,
got
it's
a tight
brutal.
growing season up there.
I know some Afghans that could help you figure that out.
yeah, I'm sure.
I like that.
It's really hard. But so you speaking of gardens, what's really funny coming out of like our, all of our consumer research, out of our last round of research, every single one of our consumers has a garden.
That is incredible, dude.
Yeah. So I mean,
Well, I think about my cousin. I think about my cousin who is a hardcore fan and has been from the beginning. And he's your customer. He's a former smoke jumper, now turned geneticist. The standard
underachiever.
trajectory of life.
right?
But I mean, he's an avid hunter, avid fly fisherman, has a garden. Just a bad mofo, just all the way around. He's run a couple ultras, but he's all over the place. And so, it's so funny because he'll be weighing in on these conversations. He works at the university on hunting and the ethics of hunting and around other academics. And he looks like them and talks like them and does research in a lab. And then he starts to diverge and he's like, actually, we should just pump the brakes here because you guys need to get off the bus. Like, you don't know a thing about this stuff.
Right.
And we were talking about it. It's like, I have spent more time in the backcountry than everybody in the university, typically outside of like the, environmental sciences, than all of these people combined. Like, I lived in the backcountry, jumping out there and digging fire lines, and they start to weigh in on these conversations. And he's like, man, I love my job. I love the university, but they're a little bit crazy.
Yeah. You gotta have those people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different perspective. Like super, super connected.
Yeah, and he's that guy, man. Like he'll go out, and he did a whole like 5-year project on the cicada. So if you want to go fly fishing with somebody that's like a bug guy,
Yeah.
and he looks like
ichthyologist.
he looks like he just walked out of Delta Force, and he's like starts opening his mouth, and it's funny because he's got like a redneck accent.
But actually, when we talk about the protein expression and the DNA of the cicada, this one differentiates.
And you're like,
Oh,
Never mind.
does that mean there are going to be big fish in here?
yeah, right. Hey, are we fishing now?
Yeah.
I like to drink
Yeah,
beer.
yeah.
Yes.
High protein, big trout.
Well, Jonathan, man, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
This has been Evan Hafer, Jonathan Hart, Tier, and Baker Leavitt. Thank you very much.